friends living in a small village, Payal, for her innocence and beauty. Payal was known as an ordinary 20-year-old girl, lived with her parents in the village. There was a dense forest nearby which people called the Haunted Forest. Many people in the village used to say about this forest scary stories were prevalent. People say that strange incidents happened there. That's why no one dared to go there. Payal was very fond of forests since childhood. She would often sit on the outskirts of the village and look towards the forest and wonder, what is there that scares everyone? One day, full of curiosity, Payal decided to uncover this mystery. She did not share her plan with anyone. The next morning, as soon as the sun rose, Payal put a water bottle, some food items, and a torch in a bag and set out towards the forest. After reaching the edge of the forest, she took a deep breath and stepped inside. The view of the forest was very beautiful. Tall trees, chirping of birds and cool breeze. Payal felt that all the scary stories that people had told about this forest were all false. About half an hour had passed while she was walking in the forest. Suddenly she felt that someone was watching her. She stopped and looked around but could not see anything. She thought that it was her illusion. She moved forward, but after going a little further, she heard the rustling sound of dry leaves from behind. Fearfully, she turned back and saw a huge gorilla standing there. He was about a foot tall and there was a mysterious glow in his eyes. Payal's heart started beating loudly. She felt that the gorilla would attack her, but the gorilla did not make any move. He was just standing quietly and staring at Payal. Payal tried to move back slowly, but the gorilla blocked her way by spreading his long arms. He made some strange gestures in his deep voice. Payal felt that the gorilla was not attacking her, but was trying to tell her something. The gorilla suddenly picked up a big leaf from the ground and extended it towards Payal. Payal moved forward to take the leaf with fear. There were strange markings on the leaf which looked like a secret message. The gorilla again made gestures as if asking her to follow him. There was a strange combination of fear and curiosity in Payal. Finally, she gathered courage and started following the gorilla. In a short while, they reached a cave. The gorilla pointed towards the cave, as if asking her to go inside. Payal hesitantly peeped inside the cave and saw something shining. She went closer and saw that it was a shining necklace. She kept an old diary near the necklace. Payal picked up the diary and opened it to read. As soon as she turned the first page, she suddenly felt as if someone had pushed her from behind. She immediately turned around, but there was no one there. The gorilla was standing outside the cave. The pain of trying to say something was visible in his eyes. The things written on the pages of the diary were very strange. It was written that this gorilla was once a human being, but due to an ancient curse, he was transformed into this form. To break the curse, he needed the help of an innocent person who would help him without any selfishness. Payal was stunned after reading all this. She did not understand what to do. She looked at the gorilla who was still standing quietly and looking at her. There was a strange pain and hope in his eyes, as if he was pleading with Payal. Payal thought that if this gorilla was really a human being, then she should help him. She gathered courage and turned the next page of the diary. The method to break the curse was written there, but the instructions were not there. Were very clear.
It mentioned a mysterious mantra and a special day. Payal was not able to understand what to do, but the gorilla again made gestures and started taking her with him deeper into the jungle. While walking in the jungle, Payal felt that the gorilla was constantly alert, as if he was afraid of someone. He kept looking here and there again and again, and started walking fast. Payal was restless, but she kept walking with him. After some time, they reached a small lake. The water of the lake was calm and mysterious. The gorilla gestured Payal to look into the water. As soon as Payal looked into the lake, she saw that her reflection in the water was looking strange. It seemed as if some invisible force from within the lake was pulling her towards itself. Payal started to move back in fear, but the gorilla held her hand. He gestured her to explain that there was no need to be afraid. Then suddenly, a mysterious voice echoed from the water of the lake. That voice was deep and echoing. He said, If you want to help this gorilla, you will not have to sacrifice your most precious thing." Payal was stunned to hear this. She looked at the gorilla, who was anxiously looking at the lake. There was a strange combination of hope and pain in his eyes. It seemed as if he was pleading with Payal to support him. Payal's mind was filled with questions. Is this gorilla really innocent? Will I get into some big danger by helping him? The lake's voice said once again. You don't have much time. Decide. Payal's breathing became faster. She was scared to the core after hearing the sounds coming from the lake. She had two options. Either she helps the gorilla and becomes a part of this mystery, or she returns after saving her life. Her eyes remained fixed on the gorilla, who was still standing quietly and looking at her with eyes full of pain and hope. The anxiety and pain on the gorilla's face was clearly visible. Payal could not understand. He was thinking what to do. The voice of the lake echoed again and said, You have to decide quickly. To turn the gorilla into a human being, you will have to sacrifice your most precious thing. Payal looked at the lake and asked in a low voice, What is my most precious thing? The voice of the lake replied, It will be decided by your heart. You will have to sacrifice the thing that is most dear to you. Payal went into deep thought. What did she have that she held most dear? Her family, her freedom, or her own identity? She looked at the gorilla, whose eyes had a strange mixture of hope and pain. Payal gathered courage and said, I am ready to sacrifice, but first I have to know who you are and why this happened to you. The gorilla pointed to the water of the lake. Suddenly, waves started rising in the water of the lake, and a story started emerging in it. Payal saw that the gorilla was once a prince named Arun. Arun was the heir to a powerful kingdom. He was handsome, brave, and noble-hearted. But one day he went to the jungle to help a mysterious woman. Payal refused. The woman was a witch. Angered by the insult, she turned Arun into a gorilla and said, You will not be freed from this curse until an innocent girl shows the courage to save you by sacrificing her most precious thing. Payal was shocked to see all this. She looked at the gorilla and said, I can understand your pain. I will help you. Then the voice of the lake echoed again. If you sacrifice, the gorilla will become a human being. But remember, there will be a void in your life that you will always feel. Payal closed her eyes for a few moments. Then slowly she thought about her parents, her dreams, and her life. But seeing the pain of the gorilla, her heart melted. She made a firm decision and said, I am ready. I will sacrifice my most precious thing. The waves of the lake suddenly calmed down, and a wonderful light rose from the water of the lake and started surrounding Payal. The gorilla also stood inside that light. Payal felt that a part of her memories was getting blurred. The light addressed her. Do you know what you are sacrificing? Payal replied, No, but I am ready for it. As soon as she said this, the light started spreading all around. The gorilla's body started shivering and becoming smaller. His long arms and legs started shrinking, and his heavy body became lighter. He slowly started turning into a human. Payal saw that the gorilla had now turned into a handsome and courageous young man. The young man was Arun, who looked at Payal and had tears of gratitude in his eyes. He said, "I will always be grateful to you for everything you have done for me." Then Payal felt that something strange was happening. Her memories were slowly fading. She tried to think about her parents and her home, but everything became blurred. She asked Aaron in a panic, "What is happening to me?" Arun said in a sad voice, "You have given up your most precious thing, that is, your memories. Now you will forget your family, your home, and your old life." This was extremely difficult for Payal. She said to Arun, "I did all this for you, but will I never be able to see my family again?" Arun bowed his head and said in a deep voice, "You have made a huge sacrifice. Payal, I will never forget this, but I promise that I will always try my best to keep you happy." Tears were flowing from Payal's eyes, but she controlled her heart. She said in a low voice, "Aaron said, if my memories were my most precious possession, then I have taken the right decision. Your freedom was most important to me." Aaron held Payal's hand and looked at the lake. He promised the lake that he would support Payal in every difficulty. The lake blessed both of them and said, "Your union is now for a bigger purpose. The price of your sacrifice will soon be clear." The atmosphere near the lake suddenly became quiet. Payal, who had given up her memories, was now completely cut off from her past. She did not remember anything about her village, her parents, and her old life. There was a strange emptiness in her mind. Arun held Payal's hand and said, "I can never repay the debt of what you did for me, but now it is my responsibility to give you a new life. Let's go from here." Payal looked at Arun. There was an unknown path in her eyes. She said, "I do not know who I am, but if you are saying that you are mine, then why don't you? If you help me, I will go with you." Both of them moved towards the village through the jungle paths. Arun promised Payal that he will give her a happy life now. But as soon as they reached near the village, strange incidents started. As soon as the villagers saw Arun and Payal coming out of the jungle, their eyes were filled with fear and apprehension. An old woman shouted in a trembling voice, "This is the same gorilla. It has returned again." Arun was shocked. He tried to explain, "I am not a gorilla anymore. I have become a human being. This girl has freed me." But the villagers were not ready to listen to him. A young man from the crowd said in an angry tone, "You are the one who harmed many people of our village. We will not let you live here." Arun looked at Payal, who was still trying to understand the situation. Arun put his hand on her shoulder and said, "We have to leave from here." Both went to a deserted place away from the village. Arun took a deep breath and said, "The curse made me a human, but it has not completely erased from my soul. People will never accept me." Payal, who was now completely unaware of her past, said in a serious tone, "I have not been able to understand everything, but if this is true, then we have to find the real reason behind this curse. Maybe its end is yet to come." Aaron looked at her and said, "You are right. Maybe this curse has not ended completely. We have to go back to the lake and find out the truth." Both waited the whole night and left for the lake the next morning. As soon as they reached near the lake, they felt a strange movement there. The water of the lake had turned dark, black, and mysterious. Sounds were coming from there. Aaron looked at the lake. He said, "You said the curse will end, but people are still not accepting me. Is there still something left?" An echoing voice came from the lake. "Your curse has ended, but Payal's sacrifice is incomplete. The curse will not end completely until her sacrifice is complete." Payal asked in surprise, "My sacrifice is incomplete. I have sacrificed my memories. What else is left now?" The echoing voice of the lake replied, "You sacrificed your memories, but this sacrifice only touches your past. To end this curse completely, you will have to sacrifice from the depth of your soul." Aaron's face was filled with anger and pain. He shouted towards the lake, saying, "This is injustice. He has already lost a lot. I cannot bear this." But the calm, steady voice of the lake echoed, "This curse is tied to that sacrifice. If she does not make this sacrifice, then you will again return as the same gorilla, and this time no one will be able to save you." Tears in Payal's eyes, she said in a low voice, "If this is true, then I am ready to sacrifice." Arun, holding her hand, said, "No, I will not let you lose more. I will live in this form, but I cannot end your life anymore." Payal looked at him firmly and said in a serious tone, "I have already decided. If your pain can end with my sacrifice, then I will have to do it." The voice of the lake again addressed Payal. "This time you will have to sacrifice your desires and dreams. This means that happiness, love, and dreams will go away from your life forever. You will become a shadow, living for others." "Are you ready for this?" Payal said without any hesitation. "Yes, I am ready." Suddenly a bright light emerged from the lake which surrounded Payal from all sides. The light was so bright that Arun had to cover his eyes. The pain was clearly visible on Payal's face, and her body was in a shimmering state. Arun started trembling. He cried and shouted, "No! Stop it!" But Jeel was not going to stop the process. The light kept increasing, and Payal's body gradually became lighter and weaker. When the light stopped, Payal fell on the ground. Arun held Payal and said, "Payal, you are fine." Payal looked at him, but there was no emotion in her eyes. He said in a low voice, "Now I am only for you. The only purpose of my life is to support you." Arun understood that Payal had given up all her wishes and dreams. He was broken from inside. He held Payal's hand and said, "I will never let your sacrifice go in vain." But he paused and said, "Has Jeel really told us the whole truth? Or is there still a big mystery hidden in this story?" Payal's face was calm, but there was no trace of any emotion in her eyes. She was standing near Arun, but it seemed as if she was no longer a living person, but an empty shell. Arun looked at her and said, "Payal, I never wanted this for you. All this has happened because of me." "I cannot see you in this condition," Payal said in a low voice. "Now I have no wish, no dream. The purpose of my life is only to help you." Aaron's heart seemed to break into 1,000 pieces. He looked at the lake and shouted, "Is this your justice? I got the punishment for the mistake I made, but this girl did only good. Why does she have to suffer like this?" The lake's voice echoed again, calm but deep. "Arun, this curse was the result of your mistake, but Payal has chosen this sacrifice of her own free will. The root of every curse is not only truth, it is hidden in the depth of someone's deeds," Arun said. Looking at Jeel, he asked, "Does this mean that there is still some truth hidden behind this curse?" Jeel's voice became serious. "If you want to reach the root of this curse, you will have to go back to your past," Arun asked. "What is there in my past that I missed?" Knowing Jeel replied in a serious tone, "Your curse was not just the result of the witch's anger. There is another deep secret behind it. The witch made you a gorilla because she decided to settle an old account with your family." Arun was shocked and said in surprise, "Old account? How is this possible?" Jeel replied, "Your ancestors attacked the witch's village many years ago. They harmed her people and destroyed her family. The witch had sworn that day that she would make your family suffer the consequences. Your father tried to stop her, but this curse was yours." Aaron was deeply shocked to hear this. Now he understood that this was not only his mistake, but also the result of his family's deeds. He asked the lake, "If this is true, then how can I completely end this curse?" Jeel replied, "You have to find the sorceress and apologize to her, but it will not be easy. She is still hiding somewhere in this forest, and searching for her can be like inviting death." Payal, who was now free from her desires and dreams, said, "I will come with you. You will need my help to reach the sorceress." Arun tried to stop her. "No, Payal, this is very dangerous." But Payal said firmly, "Now the only purpose of my life is to help you. Don't stop me." Both took leave from Jeel and started moving towards the deeper part of the forest in search of the sorceress. The forest had become even darker and scarier. The sounds of dangerous wild animals were echoing from places, but both did not stop their steps. After some time, they saw an old and dilapidated hut. Smoke was coming out of the hut, and black creepers were growing all around. Arun looked at Payal and said, "This is probably the same place." Both reached the hut and knocked on the door. A harsh voice came from inside. "Who is it? Don't you know that entry to this place is prohibited?" Arun stood near the door and said, "I am Arun. I have come to apologize to you. I am ashamed of whatever my family has done. Please end my curse." The door opened, and an old woman came out. Her hair was white and scattered, and her eyes were deep and scary. She looked at Arun and said, "How dare you come here to apologize? Do you think that everything will be fine?" "With just an apology," Arun said firmly. "I know that apology is not enough, but I am ready to do anything to correct my mistake." The witch looked at Payal and said, "Who is this girl? Is she also a part of your family?" Payal said in a calm voice, "I have sacrificed everything for her. Now I am not in this world. I have no identity." The witch laughed and said, "This girl is your biggest strength and your biggest weakness. If you really want to end your curse, you will have to make the biggest sacrifice." Arun was surprised and asked, "What is the biggest sacrifice?" The witch replied in a serious tone, "You will have to leave this girl forever." Arun kept a deep silence on hearing this. The thought of leaving Payal forever was like tearing his heart from within. He looked at Payal, who was standing calmly, but there was no emotion in her eyes now. She had become an empty shell, whose only aim was to help Arun. Arun took a deep breath and said to the witch, "Your proposal is impossible. I have regained my humanity because of Payal. She is my biggest strength. I cannot leave her." The witch said with a cold laugh, "Then you will also have to accept that your curse will never end completely. No, it will always be your fate to remain free of incomplete freedom." Arun turned towards Payal and said, "I can't even think of leaving you. You have lost everything for me. I can leave you alone," Payal said in a calm voice. "If this is the way, then you should follow it. My wishes and dreams have already ended your freedom. The biggest thing for me is Arun's heart was broken, but Payal's love and sacrifice forced him to seriously consider this proposal. He asked the witch, 'Will this curse end only when I leave Payal?' The witch replied, 'Yes, but remember, you don't have to just leave her. You have to forget her forever, and this process will not be easy. Your mind, body, and soul will have to bear deep pain.' Arun thought for a while, and then, keeping a stone on his heart, said, 'If this is the only way, then I am ready.' The witch took out a bowl of glowing water from the hut and said, 'There is a magical mixture in this bowl. As
Soon as you drink it, your memories will slowly fade. You will forget Payal, but remember this process will have a deep impact on your mind and body." Arun took the bowl in his hand and looked at Payal. He said, "Payal, I am not doing all this for you but to make your sacrifice meaningful." "Forgive me if I hurt you," Payal said with a light smile. "I sacrificed everything for you. I will not feel any sorrow if my sacrifice is successful with your liberation." Arun took a deep breath and drank the potion. As soon as he emptied the bowl, his head started spinning, his eyes started closing, and he started feeling intense pain in his body. Payal tried to hold him, but the sorceress said, "Don't touch him. He will have to complete this process alone." Aaron's memories started getting blurred one by one. He remembered the day he became a gorilla, Payal's sacrifice near the lake, and finally Payal's face. But slowly, all these memories started disappearing from his sight. After some time, Aaron opened his eyes. He was feeling completely different. He had no pain, but there was a deep emptiness in his eyes. He looked around and asked, "How did I come here? And who is this girl?" The sorceress said, smiling, "You are now free from your curse. It is over, but you will not remember how it happened." Payal looked at Aaron, but now there were no tears in her eyes. She knew that Aaron would never remember her now. She said softly, "Now your life can begin." The sorceress looked at Payal and said, "The sacrifice you have made will remain immortal. Now you will live in this world as a shadow which will have no existence." Payal bowed her head and said, while controlling her heart, "If my sacrifice can make someone's life better, then I will not be sad about it." Aaron thanked the sorceress and came out of the jungle. He was now completely free. But he will never know the real price of this freedom. Payal asked the sorceress, "What will happen to my life now?" The sorcerer Ghani replied, "You have now become a part of a mysterious power. Your existence will now be absorbed in helping others. Until your work is completed, your soul will keep wandering in this jungle." Payal said calmly, "If this is my destiny, then I accept it completely."